Hey YouTubers, welcome back to DonnyBoy73, the Small Engine Doctor, and welcome back to another episode of Small Engines Questions and Answers for Friday, July 22nd, 2011. We're currently in the middle of a heat wave here, so it's pretty nice. Actually, some people find it a bit too hot. It's kind of like one extreme to the other here in Northern Ontario. It's either really cold or really hot. But anyways, might as well enjoy the short summer that we get. It's kind of nice for making videos too, because you don't have to be all dressed up and everything like that. Also, if anybody needs parts for a Generac 5500 XL generator, it's got a GN 320 11 horsepower motor. I'm selling it for parts. I got it in here, it wasn't working. So at this point I'm having a really hard time getting parts for it, so I'm just going to sell it for parts. I just don't have time to try and get it running again. The magnet on the flywheel is damaged. It's all broken into shreds. I do have a brand new ignition module for it. There's still no spark, or it's really weak. Here's the body of the generator. It's got the fuel tank and everything. There's even an electric start on this one, but I think it's pretty worn. It's a bit loose here, but it does turn over. So I can sell you individual parts or the whole unit at a cheap price. Anyways, to get started today, some people ask me what are the symptoms of a bad transaxle on a lawn tractor. So what I mean by the transaxle is the transmission, or this part here. It goes from this wheel to that wheel, and here it is underneath here. That's where all the gears and basically the transmission is for your lawn tractor. Some symptoms that may appear if you have a damaged transaxle are: you may hear some clicking noise in a certain gear or all the time, or you may find that it jerks a bit, kind of like the belts are slipping or something when you're driving it, especially if you're going up a hill or something like that. But make sure you've checked all your belts before you assume that there's a damaged transaxle. I just worked on the yard works the other day and the transmission was finished. There was no way to repair that, and they wanted $1,000 for a new transaxle. That's crazy. So the guy decided not to repair it because he already spent $900 on the tractor used. When he had bought the tractor, they told him it ran good. He took a chance, and that's what happened. So beware when you go to buy something used. Also, make sure that your transaxle isn't leaking oil. If it is, replace the seals, and also check the seal between the two aluminum parts. If it runs out of oil, you could damage all the gears in there. Now, some of these transaxles have grease in them, so it's a bit easier to maintain that way. You don't have to worry about oil dripping because you know the grease is going to sit there. Now, another question in regards to lawn tractors is sometimes people ask me, what are the symptoms of a worn out blade spindle? So the spindle is the part right here on the deck. There's usually one on each side of the deck, and the blade attaches to it underneath it. Now, some of the symptoms of a worn out spindle are that you can grab the blade and move it like this up and down because the bearings are worn out. Also, you may hear a loud noise when you use your tractor while cutting grass. And it's going to do it only when you use the deck, not when you're just riding the tractor. Also, a distractor you saw last week that's burning a lot of oil, a YouTuber brought to my attention something I forgot to mention that could be causing that as well. The head gasket on these can get damaged between the cylinder and the hole or the galley where the push rods are, and this can cause a lot of oil to go into the cylinder and cause the symptoms that this tractor here has. And I had taken off the head previously to check the head gasket, and it was okay. And if I show you a diagram of this engine here, here's the head gasket, and sometimes it'll get damaged right here. And when your engine's apart, this is what it's going to look like. So sometimes, like I said, it gets damaged right here. The oil from the hole here goes into the cylinder and causes it to burn a lot of oil and to smoke a lot. So thanks again to the YouTuber for reminding us of that. Sometimes when I make a video, it's hard to remember everything to tell people. Now, some people often ask me, why is there gas leaking where the fuel lines go in the fuel tank on my weed eater? Here's an actual weed eater here, and you can see where the fuel lines go in. Well, this could be that the lines are rotted or decaying. It's only the fuel line that creates a seal between it and the fuel tank to prevent the gas from coming out. The lines have to go in there pretty tight to create that seal. Sometimes people email me telling me, well, I've replaced the fuel lines and now it's leaking even more. Well, what could have happened is that the person may not have gotten the proper size of fuel lines to insert into there. Like I said, if the fuel line isn't tight enough going into the fuel tank, it will leak gas. And usually what I'll use for that is Tygon fuel line. Another tip too is when you go to get fuel line, bring the old fuel line with you to the small engine shop so that they can match it perfectly when you buy it. And remember, when you insert the new fuel line into the fuel tank, it's going to be a bit difficult, but that's good because it tells you that it's going to be really tight in there and that no gas is going to come out. My last question today, YouTuber has a lawnmower like this with a Briggs 3.5 classic engine with the primer. And his problem is that the lawnmower will only keep running as long as he keeps pushing the primer to send more fuel in it. He's wondering what's causing that. More than likely what's causing that is bad gas, a dirty carb. You would have to take this apart and replace the diaphragm inside here between the fuel tank and the carburetor. Here's the diaphragm that goes in those specific carburetors there. Comes with a diaphragm, and there's a gasket in the package here as well. And it's part number 495770. If you buy it from Rotary, it's 22-7721. Now make sure when you remove the fuel tank that you let it dry in the sun really good. The same with the carburetor, just to make sure that any moisture gets evaporated. Sometimes if there's a bit of water in the fuel tank, your machine's not going to run properly and you're going to have to keep priming it just for it to keep going. So that'll be it for this week. I want to thank all the YouTubers who've sent me some gifts. I also want to thank those who've just subscribed and those who comment regularly, and also those who watch my videos on a regular basis as well. So thanks again for watching. We'll see you next Friday, and have a safe weekend.